Good evening and welcome to the Leon Valley City Council meeting. Today's Tuesday, May the 1st, 2018. We're so glad so many of you could join us this evening. Just a few things before we start. We are live streaming on your computer and on, is it YouTube or something like that? Anyway, so if y'all would please go to the podium and make sure that we speak loudly since we're trying to get all the comments. If you'll please silence your cell phones as well. Greatly appreciate that. And then also just a reminder that our local rules do allow for citizens to give input at any point in the agenda, up to 3 minutes. So not just citizens to be heard, which is 5 minutes. So I just wanted to clarify that as well. And as you can see, all council members are here and we're ready to do the city's business this evening. We are honored and greatly appreciative of, we've got 5 students from Incarnate Word, and y'all are here for a class project. Is that correct, that you needed to attend? Would y'all like to introduce yourselves and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I heard from one of the counselors that you would like to do that this evening. So, all right, so if you would please come to the podium, stand, and introduce yourself first, and then lead us in the pledge. If everyone would please rise. Thank you. I went to Incarnate Word. That was my alma mater. So that's awesome. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Madeline. It's nice to meet everybody.
I'm Elisa.
I'm Marissa.
I'm Ava. I'm Victoria.
Thank you. Yes, and is this for government class? Yes. Okay, very good. Thank you. If you'll begin, thank you.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, and the best of luck to you. And y'all are seniors, right? Okay, that's what I remembered. You took government as in your senior year. Okay, excellent. Yes, that's right. All right. Agenda item number 2. We have 2 presentations this evening. The first one is a Good Neighbor Award, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and we have Bart Huffman here and Mr. Demeline as well. If you'll begin. Thank you, Mr. Huffman. Good evening and welcome. So good to see you. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We wanted to present this Good Neighbor Award to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and we have Mr. Bart Huffman here with us this evening. And we can't say enough of the work that they did back on March 24th. They had many volunteers come out to our park, Remkes Park, and they worked on what's called the Quiet Path area.
Oh, yeah.
And so we had about, I would say, 12 or 13 areas that were kind of in bad shape. They were kind of muddy. And so we were able to bring in some material, and as you can see here, the volunteers worked very hard on bringing that material in and working it in, and it was just a great day, and we just really appreciate their service. Just wanted to say thank you, and you probably have some words too as well.
Well, I'm not sure how many words I have. We do more actions than words. Thank you so much for the opportunity to serve Leon Valley. It was a lot of fun to get together. Many hands make light work. The weather was great. We all showed up, and it was just a hoot to have fun. And we're here for you for future use too. Please keep us in mind. It's our honor to serve.
Thank you. Mr. Huffman, did you have a little certificate for you that we'd like to present to you and your church? It says, Good Neighbor Award, presented to Leon Valley Ward Community Volunteers, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. On behalf of the Leon Valley City Council, this award recognizes the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Leon Valley Ward. Many hands make light work. March 24th, 2018. We thank you for your hard work and cheerful willingness to mark new trails and restore the existing trail at Raymond Remkes Park. We sincerely appreciate your commitment to the enhancement and preservation of our recreational facilities, as well as your continued support. Signed by my hand this first day of May, 2018, Mayor Chris Riley. Congratulations, and again, thank you so much. It's a great partnership.
Thank you, Mayor
Yes,
Riley.
sir. Yes, sir. Anything else? Okay. We will be calling. Agenda item number 2, it's with honor and great pleasure, and it's just phenomenal, our library. They have done it again. Let me read the letter. Texas Municipal Libraries Directors Association. Sandy, if you'll come forward. And Teresa, if you'll come forward. Yes, 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 in the Texas Municipal. Is this Shelley Holly? No. Gretchen, how are you? Nice to meet you. Really appreciate it. Come on over here. And Rosemary, and who else do we have? And Teresa, yes. Let me read the letter, and then I'll turn it to you. This is a letter on March the 1st, 2018, to Sandy Underwood, our librarian. Dear Sandy, congratulations go to the Leon Valley Public Library. On behalf of the Texas Municipal Library Directors Association, I'm pleased to inform you you've earned the 2017 Achievement of Excellence in Libraries Award. Your application clearly demonstrated your commitment to provide exceptional service. Of the 548 public library systems in Texas, your library is one of only 52 who have earned this year's award. With this honor, your library is now in the top 10% of all public libraries in the state. That is just great, phenomenal. Thank you. We know you will want to proudly display your accolades, which includes an award plaque, congratulatory letter, and for the first time this year, a digital medal. The digital medal is on image file that can be used but not altered on websites, email signatures, stationery, and other official library promotional materials. The digital image can be made to be clickable to the TMLDA award site, or if you prefer, to a page you create showing your accomplishments and our completed application. If you would like a local TMDA representative to present your award, there we go. We've got one today publicly. Please contact Shelley Holly. So again, congratulations on this accomplishment, and thank you for providing your community with outstanding and innovative services to enrich the lives of your residents. Warmly. Thank you. Let's give Sandy and our library a round of applause. This is great.
Well, let me just say I'm Gretchen Pruitt. I'm the president-elect of the TMLDA, and I happen to also be the library director in New Braunfels, so it was my honor to come down here tonight to present this award. And as the letter said, this is an award of excellence. Less than 10% of the public libraries in the state can receive this award. And it's not just about the money, the financial commitment that your community makes, but it's about the excellence in leadership. And it's about things like being responsive to community needs, making sure that staff have continuing education, and even a continuous review of policies. So this truly is showing the depth of your library and the commitment from this community to the library and its leadership, and of course to Sandy for doing an excellent job. So it's my honor to present this. Let's give them another round of applause.
And I just want to let you know, the staff really makes this happen. We have an incredible staff. If you don't know already, we're open 7 days a week, so come by and see us. So we've added Sunday and Monday, but if you have requests, please pass them on to us. If you have ideas, let us know, because we are all about thinking outside the box and doing everything we can to give you what you need in the library. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Congratulations again, and thank you for coming from New Braunfels. Okay, all righty. Bye-bye. Do we need? Oh, we need some pictures. Okay, excuse me. right. Agenda item number 3 is our city manager's report. Ms. Kinsler, good evening and welcome.
Good evening. Excuse me. I was busy bragging on our library. So this is a city manager's supplemental report. The city manager's report is made available either online on our website or right outside the council chamber doors. And what this is supplemental information that we wanted to deliver to you since the submission of the original report. I just want to remind everybody, because this is really going to be an important workshop if you can make it. May 7th, the city is going to jointly host a property tax appeals workshop at the Conference Center in conjunction with San Antonio City Councilor Anna Sandoval. The event will begin at 7 o'clock and doors are going to open at 6:30. It's only from 7 to 8, so it's 1 hour, but from what I understand, it's a very, very informative session. The National Take Back this year, which was held last Saturday by your Leon Valley Police Department, was the biggest that Leon Valley has seen. Your police department collected 36 full boxes of unused prescription medications, which equaled approximately 965 pounds. So huge. That program just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And we're disposing of our unused prescription medication and other medication in proper ways now. Also have to brag, 3 of our Leon Valley firefighters are back from the Calgary Tower Climb in Canada. It was held April 29th, and these firefighters paid their own way to participate in the tower climb in Canada. They consisted of Matt Siddell, Eric Burnside, and Eli Garcia. They made it home safely. Not only did they represent the city of Leon Valley well, but they represented this country well, as Matt Siddell placed first in the Canadian tower climb.
All right.
So we had 3 firefighters. Of course, they got support from their fellow firefighters, but the 3 firefighters were the representatives from the United States. There was many firefighters, of course, from the country of Canada, and then also Denmark sent some folks over to participate in this. So out of 3 countries, Leon Valley, Texas was number 1. So that's pretty exciting.
Thank you.
The Old Mill and Silo Parks playground equipment has been ordered, and it should arrive in 4 to 6 weeks. The Ridge, that outdoor fitness equipment, has been ordered, and it'll be here in 4 to 6 weeks. We actually expect to finalize all the planned improvements for the 3 parks by the end of the summer. And then next year, with your approval, we will be asking for the last of the improvements to the Ridge Park at Leon Valley in next year's budget. I hope you've noticed, but the new mowing crew has been working diligently to assure all 3 mow zones are routinely completed, and I've seen the difference by driving around. So we have a dedicated crew towards this task alone, and it's making a big difference in the appearance of the city. I wanted to give you an update on the quick trip up here at Seneca and Bandera. As you saw, all those trees went bye-bye overnight. They're going to be replanted. But they made their final payment for a review plan for their gas tanks today, and they submitted their final plans as well. So really what we're going to have next for the quick trip will come when it's inspection time. So that's moving along at a pretty rapid pace. The other thing that we received was a red light camera scorecard.
I saw that.
And thought this might be interesting to share with, I shared it with the council. I don't know how many of you have seen it yet, because I just shared it this afternoon. I just got it. But I thought the citizenry would be interested in knowing about this, and I'm sure it'll be shared with the Citizens Police Advisory Committee. But this is March program data where we had 10 cameras used. We actually installed our 11th one. We had a lot of trouble getting electrical access from CPS, so we now have 11. But this is with 10 cameras that were used across 7 intersections within the city. The worst time for red light running violations in Leon Valley is found between noon and 5 p.m. The most notorious day for red light running, I figured it was going to be Monday, but it was Friday. The program generates about 22 red light running violations per camera per day. The locations with the most violations is the intersection of Bandera and, guess? Grissom. That's the counselor that wanted that camera up first. Citations per location in March, the one on Grissom that we just talked about, 2,873. I don't know if you've driven around here at night, but it looks like a disco out there sometime. There's so many lights going off. Huebner and Bandera, 1,313. Bandera and Pass, 407. Northbound, southbound Bandera and Wurzbach, 658. Southbound Bandera and Seneca, 785. Southbound Bandera and Timco, 610. And our lowest was Bandera and Reindeer Trail.
Oh, yeah.
188. So we got our scorecard in, and we'll be getting monthly scorecards to be able to share with the citizens. And eventually, we'll get these online so that you can see exactly what we're doing. But this just came in today. Letters were sent out to Leon Valley residents last week, gently reminding them that our code does require solid waste service. They were sent out by your codes department. They gathered the information from Tiger. The letter that the police department sent out is generating lots of new account hookups. So that's the good news to report on that. Unfortunately, some of the letters that went out to residents in error who had accounts but hadn't made any payments to Tiger. And so the letter said, you don't have an account, but they really did. They just hadn't made a payment. And so Tiger is actually getting hold of these residents right now, remedying that for us, saying, this was the reason why. But not only have the letters brought in, even if they had an account and hadn't made any payments, it's bringing in payments, it's bringing in citizens signing up for the service now. So I think it was a positive thing because it was a gentle reminder that this is our code, and we've got a really heavy response from it. So all in all, successful minus the letters that went out in error because there was account problems. We finally have a solid working group in place that's working on preliminary studies for Bandera Road. And Mayor Riley, I think you're going to fill in the group on our latest meeting. Okay, so I'll hold off on that, the rest of that one. Upcoming items. Next regular city council meeting is May 15th, right here at 6 o'clock. May 5th is the general election. Early voting ended today. The city of San Antonio's, am I right? Huh? Oh, it ends at 7 tonight. Okay. City of San Antonio's tricentennials from May 1st through the 6th. For more information, you can go to sanantonio300.org. I already told you about the appeal workshop. The library summer reading program kickoff will be Saturday, June 9th at 10:30, and you can look at the monitor the library's Facebook page for that. Upcoming committee meetings. The library board will be meeting May 8th at 5:30 in the library, and they are going to cancel their July meeting or their summer meeting. Hike and Bike Committee, May 8th, 6 o'clock, right here at City Hall. The Park Commission meeting will be meeting May 10th at 7 o'clock p.m., and I think that's the same time as the HOA for Shadow Mist meeting, which is at the Fire Department. The Police Advisory Committee is meeting May 16th at 6:30 right here at City Hall. Zoning Commission, May 22nd, 7 o'clock p.m., City Hall. And tomorrow evening, we will have an Economic and Community Development Advisory Committee meeting at 6 o'clock p.m. They're going to be vetting, I think, 2 projects for us tomorrow night. And that concludes my report for this evening, and maybe it doesn't. Oh, sorry, voting ends at 8, early voting ends at 8 o'clock p.m. tonight. With that said, I will stand for questions.
Okay, very good. Thank you. First of all, I'd just like to thank you for, I just saw this afternoon you had a post on Nextdoor about how to communicate
I did.
to the city of Leon Valley, and I thought it was very thorough and very encouraging.
Thank you.
And also, I was reading your report. Are the judges still giving community service in place of paying a fine? I didn't see that in the report.
They are giving community service,
Okay.
but your city attorney, if you want more expansion on
Well,
that, she
usually
can.
we get some numbers like how many Community service, yeah, we usually have that. And so I had missed it, so I thought, well, maybe we weren't doing it anymore. So I just wanted to follow up with that.
Mayor, Council, we're still doing it, and I'll ask Ms. Caldera to get with Fabiola to get those numbers back in the report again.
Right. And then also, as I'm reading the report, I saw there was a lot of, we impound cars now because we have the impound lot for the first time. And I guess I just wanted to be reminded, what did we do before we had the impound lot?
They went to Bannis Towing.
Went to Bannis, so Bannis got all of them. They got to get rid of the cars and the auction and everything.
Exactly.
I see. So we moved that revenue stream to us.
Exactly,
Okay.
to the
Thank you for that.
taxpayer.
Okay. So with that said, is there any other questions for the city manager on her report and her supplemental report this evening? Okay. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving then to agenda item number 4, which is citizens to be heard. Is there anyone in our chambers this evening that would like to address the council at this time? Please come forward and state your name and where you live, and you have up to 5 minutes to speak. Okay, seeing no one then, we will move to announcements by the mayor and city council members. And so let's go this way. Councilor Ely, do you have any announcements this evening? Do something a little different this evening.
I am just getting over a cold.
Oh,
So, yes, you can hear it. But I thank you for people who've been coming by and calling and asking how I've been doing. When I'm quiet, people notice. You know what? But anyway, it's nice to be here tonight, and glad that we're going to get a little bit of rain, hopefully, in the forecast. Hopefully not before we get home. Other than that, hoping for good weather this weekend, and glad everybody can make it out tonight. Thank you so much.
thank you, Councilor Ely. Councilor Jordan.
Yes, I just thank everyone for coming out tonight, and remember to vote, please, and let your voice be heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Martinez.
The only thing I can say, excuse me, go out and vote, and like the saying goes, vote and vote often.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Alcacer.
My item tonight is a bit serious. It starts with the well-known song, Rumor Has It, by Adele. The definition of rumor is currently circulating story of uncertain or doubtful truth, equivalent to gossip, or chisme in Spanish. Gossip is casual or unconstrained conversation or reports about other people, typically without details and not confirmed as being true. The reason I'm bringing that up is in the past 2 weeks, 7 different people have come to me personally telling me items that they had heard about me, none of which were true. And it's very disturbing that this is even happening. When you want to know something, go to the source. If it's about me, I'm the best source. It would really help if we did not have a rumor-mongering city. Politics, I guess, does it. It shouldn't matter who you talk to or who might sit by you. You shouldn't be judged by that. What you see is not always what is in reality. So please consider that. That's what in the past few months I've been trying to remind people, to be kind to one another. Gossip and rumoring is not kind. So if we can have humor, joy, smiling, sharing good things. Our parents have, I'm sure, all told us at some time, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything. Don't say anything at all. But please don't spread rumors. On the happy, positive side, the hummingbirds have already drunk more than a quart of my homemade nectar, so we're doing very well, and they're loving the flowers. The fireflies, if you haven't seen them, please walk around at night. They're really outstanding. And the weather report yesterday it was the first time in April, I think, that we haven't reached 90 degrees. So that's a real plus.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for being here.
It's been beautiful. Yes, thank you, Councilor Alcacer. Councilor Edwards, excuse me.
Just like to reiterate what was also said earlier. Please vote. Thanks to everyone for coming out tonight. And I think you can still vote for a few minutes. So if you haven't, consider running over there and doing it. And just thanks for your participation in our city council meeting tonight. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you. I have several announcements this evening. Have y'all registered for the Leon Valley Pools on the website yet? It's very easy and it's very reasonable. So I did that over the weekend. I think it's $40 per person for the whole summer, I believe. So, or you can do it in payments, but I thought Steela has done a really good job of setting it up. And if you do pay for the full membership, then you get water aerobics and some other amenities like that, or $5. I think there's a daily rate as well. So please support our pools. Some issues from the coffee of the mayor and council. We had a gentleman that also, again, I think we've heard this repeatedly about the lids, keeping them closed when it's raining. And I said, you know, we would so note it and bring it forth to the for the discussion. Infrastructure needs and how to address, that was another question. We had a presentation on Tobacco 21, restricting tobacco sales to young people that are younger than 21, and the consensus was to move that forward for more discussion. Revising the sign ordinance, and that was also a very good discussion with the caveat that we should have a task force group to look at, a separate committee. And so that was, I thought, very positive. The goals and objectives, Melinda presented those, and they should be, you can go online and look at them and still give more input, but they will be finalized and brought back to council sometime in June for finalization. The update on the bridge, we got some news, and I don't know if y'all had heard it, but we were supposed to have got the bridge hopefully finalized by around July 6th, but there's been a glitch with the gas lines. They were put in incorrectly, and it has to be done over, and not at our cost, but it's going to delay it for another 2 weeks. So now we're looking at mid-July. So I just wanted to let everybody know that, because that's one of the number one questions I get is what about the bridge? So, but I thought overall it was an excellent coffee with lots of good discussion, and I want to thank everybody that was there giving their input on all of the different topics. As City Manager Kinsler said, we did meet on April 24th. When I said we, it was TxDOT, the City of Leon Valley, City of San Antonio, and State Representative Justin Rodriguez. And it was just an excellent meeting, because we kind of looked back, and TxDOT had originally had 6 options: flyover, freeway, Eckerd and Grissom left turn lanes, super street, add a lane in each direction, or do nothing. And so what they're going to do now is they're going to add the boulevard. That was just a concept. It has not been vetted or engineered. And then I believe Councilor Martinez brought a suggestion forward, and that was to look at 410 over Leon Creek. And so that was an option many, many years ago, and they said they would look at that. So the timeline, Bandera Road is number 62 in the state of the most congested highways. And when we asked, well, what is it in Bexar County, they didn't have that information, but they'll bring it forward to us. So the main thing is that we're going to get moving on it. And the State Representative Rodriguez is going to focus on getting funding at the state level in the future. And then Councilor Sandoval and I, we're on the MPO together, we're trying to get a $1 million grant from the MPO. So that was what we're going to focus on in the short term. On the near short term, TxDOT is going to put out a request for qualifications to hire an engineer to look over all these options and do the studies that they need. And that's this summer. And then in the fall, when they have hired somebody, then they'll start looking at the options. And hopefully, the timeline has it that in the spring of 2019, the citizens will start getting to look at those options and getting feedback. It was decided to have a working group that would meet monthly to stay on top of this issue, to move it forward. So that will start in June with the representatives of each of the entities that were attending that meeting. And then it's interesting. It's going to take a long time for it to get finalized. We talked about a 7-year window. So maybe 2 years for planning and studying and citizen input. Once you get the plan together, then it's going to take another 5 years for construction. So it's going to be a long process. And sitting in that traffic this evening, we need to address it as soon as we can. So anyway, is there anything else, Ms. Kinsler, that you wanted to add to that? But I was really encouraged that we're finally going to move on this project. So
The only thing I might add is the $1 million grant that you were talking about is for a study.
Right, got to
Not for
study
any type
everything.
of construction.
No construction, exactly. Very good. All right, well, thank you. I just wanted to share that with our citizens this evening. All right. Moving on to agenda item number 6, ordinance. Ms. Alcacer, do you have a motion?
Yes, Mayor. I move that item 6.1, which should be in the regular agenda, be moved to after item 7.2, because it is not it's a first reading and not a second reading.
Right. Okay, very good. Thank you. May I have a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilor Alcacer and a second by Councilor Ely to move ordinance 6.1 behind regular agenda 7.2. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. So we will hear that one at that particular point in the agenda. So then moving to agenda item number 6.2, 3, 4, and 5. For those of you that maybe have not been at the city council meetings, we need to have 2 readings due to the home rule. And so all of these ordinances have been heard once. So this is our second reading. And so, Ms. Pasolay, if you'll please read 6.2.
An ordinance authorizing the amendment of ordinance number 2018-24 to correct the budget adjustment from the general fund to stormwater fund in the amount of $123,724.43, authorizing a budget adjustment in the amount of $123,724.43 to the stormwater fund to fund the drainage improvement CDBG project at Huebner and Timber Hill, providing for a repealer, severability, and savings clause, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Demline, do we have any updates to this particular ordinance?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We have nothing to add or no updates to this item.
Okay, all right. So are there any further questions or discussion on ordinance 6.2? If not,
I
may I
make
have
the
a
motion.
motion?
We accept this as presented.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilor Martinez and a second by Councilor Alcacer to amend this ordinance to correct a budget adjustment from the general fund to the stormwater fund in the amount of $123,724.43, and to authorize a budget adjustment in that amount to the stormwater fund. Any further discussions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Moving then to ordinance number 6.3. Ms. Pasolay, if you'll please read the ordinance.
An ordinance authorizing an amendment to the Leon Valley Code of Ordinances, Chapter 1, General Provisions, Article 1.1.06, Boards, Commissions, and Committees, by adding Section 1.06.006, Board, Committee, and Commission Appointments and Succession, providing for repealer, severability, and savings clauses, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, thank you. Oh, Hello, Mr. Mellon.
Maland.
Right? Maland. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
ma'am.
Maland.
Maland.
Maland. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
welcome again. He's our brand new director for the Community and Development Department, so we welcome you. Is there any update to ordinance number 6.3?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Mayor and
Yes.
Council. Just two minor updates.
Okay.
You will notice in the ordinance that's in your package, there is a red line to the proposed ordinance on item B. It's within section 1 of the proposed ordinance, item B. And I'll just read that. It states, for
Okay.
boards and commissions that have alternates, if a member position becomes vacant, there's a correction to specify the chairman rather than the regular members. And so,
Okay,
as you
very
know,
good.
we have our ongoing meetings monthly to look at the zoning code and potential revisions to the zoning code. So part of the discussion and the premise for this ordinance coming to you has been based on the discussions regarding changes to Chapter 15. And so through our continued discussions with the Zoning Commission, it was brought to our attention that their actual recommendation for this section of the zoning code, which, of course, with this particular change to Chapter 1, is mirroring the potential changes to Chapter 15. They specified that they wanted the chairman to, if a position becomes vacant, that the chairman would potentially ask the first alternate if they would like to be appointed to become a regular member. And so rather than, as it was specifying, the regular members. So the specific change is that the chairman may ask the first alternate if he or she wishes to become a regular member.
Okay.
And also I wanted to point out that I understand that our zoning chairman, zoning commission chairman is here this evening and wishes to make a comment, has a final comment based
You
on
bet.
the proposed revisions.
I just had a question. When you said a regular member, should that be a voting member instead of a regular member, or does that matter? Is that implied?
Right now, I think the language is regular member, but
Okay.
perhaps, you know.
It's implied. Okay, thank you. Just want to be sure.
Council, other than a alternate member that's not a voting member,
Okay.
would be a regular member.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Chairman Burnside, if you'll come forward, please, and thank you for being here and welcome.
Madam Mayor, Council, I'm Hal Burnside, live at 6938 Forest Way, and am the chairman of the Zoning Commission. I'd like to express my concern with the last sentence in this ordinance.
Okay.
And I'll read it for everybody's benefit. In considering recommendations for appointments to membership, the City Council may, in addition to the alternates, also consider other candidates for the member position. In this particular ordinance, the chairman, and we're talking about for an alternate to become a regular member, that the chairman would ask the first alternate if they would like to become a regular member. If they concur in writing, then the commission, zoning commission, will vote on that for either acceptance or not acceptance, and then that recommendation goes to the city council. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. If the first alternate declines or the first alternate is not accepted, it goes to the second, so forth. The way that I read this last sentence is that it's the city council's prerogative to select someone that's not an alternate without considering the alternates, the recommended alternates for the position. I believe that the zoning commission recommendations should go forward to the city council. The city council should vote either acceptance or rejection, okay? And if all of the alternates are exhausted, then the council can make the recommendation. And if we look at what was in the packet above this, it says, and this is on the second paragraph on page 33, it says the proposed language in the ordinance reserves the council right to appoint whoever they wish as either an alternate or regular member should they not agree with the board, committee, or commission's recommendations. I agree with that. But at least let us bring those recommendations to the city council. They either vote yes or no, but they have to, the city council should do that before they should select someone that is not an alternate.
Okay.
I know that there have been a number of people that are, I mean, a number of the council members have served as on the commission. They started as alternates. You know, and to have an alternate not even be considered, okay, and skipped over, to me is not policy, and it's going to make even harder getting members to serve, because alternates have the same attendance as regular members and requirements. Mm-hmm. And also that the city council every 2 years we have to reapply either as alternates or regular members. Mm-hmm. The city council can accept or not accept. So there are a number of opportunities for the city council not to reappoint either members or alternates. So that's my concern with this particular sentence in this ordinance.
Okay. Do you have a recommendation of how it should be worded?
Well, you know, we're trying to make, because this is language that's in the zoning code, not only for the zoning commission, but also for the Board of Adjustments, the exact same language. Mm-hmm. So in my mind, that we should have consistent language in all of these. Mm-hmm. I personally would like us to wait until we can get consistent language on everything. But if it's the council's desire not to do that, then I would like the phrase that to be inserted, should they not agree to the board's committee recommendations. At least it would make put it on the city council to consider those recommendations for the zoning commission.
Okay, very good. All right.
Mayor and Council.
Yes, Ms. Frederick.
This is not for just the zoning board. This amendment would go towards all boards and commissions. And so it just doesn't apply to the zoning board. But the zoning board, Chapter 15, I believe it is Chapter 15 of the zoning code, does have a provision that we need to come back to council to amend to make it, and all of including the Board of Adjustments, to make it consistent with the language that we have here. And so I don't even know what to say on what type of language that we would put in there. That would be something that I could come to the zoning commission and speak to you all about, but I would need to have some time to work out the language that would go into the code.
But we have 3 commissions that have alternates, right? We have the zoning, Board of Adjustments, and Park. I believe those are the only 3, right? I think everybody else has just got the regular members with no alternates.
Well,
am I correct? So this would apply to those who have the alternates.
It would apply to all boards and commissions.
Right, but I hear what Mr. Burnside's saying. He's saying the alternates need to be considered before we consider somebody else. And I think that's reasonable. Yes, Councilor Martinez.
I tend to agree with Mr. Burnside. That's the way it's been operating forever, and this is a change. So at this point, I would like to make a motion that we table this until staff can reword this, and we can come to more conclusion as a policy board. So my recommendation is we table this till staff comes back with revisions.
I have a point of question
I do
before.
too.
Well, we need a second before we have discussion.
Second.
So,
Not on the question.
I have a question as well.
okay, all right, go ahead.
What I'm not sure staff needs to reword it. Why can't the last sentence just come out?
Okay, let's,
Well,
would you,
doesn't it also affect other, I agree. That would have been my first inclination, just to remove that sentence. But if it's tied to other parts
is.
in our code, we really need to look at it globally before we make a decision on just one part.
okay. Ms. Alcacer, I'm sorry, what was your question?
Mine was similar, if we
Okay.
could just, since it's in there already,
Would you
under
put-
B,
Yes, that's what I needed, B,
at the end, it's, if we ended.
page 33.
Like if if Mr. Martinez amended his motion to say, to let it end, that should alternate positions be vacant or the alternates do not consent to the consideration of appointment, the city council may consider their other candidates for the member position.
Well, I think you wanted to say other alternate candidates, right? Isn't that what you're saying?
No, no. It would be because if the if there are no alternates, okay.
Yeah, I
or
understand.
the
You gotta go through all
alternates do not
alternates
agree
first.
to move up, then the city council
Yeah.
can
Right.
select whoever they want to. I am personally fine with eliminating the last sentence.
Or if the council chooses not to move the alternate up, even if it's recommended, the council can still choose not to do that.
Oh, that's, ma'am,
The
that is,
third point.
you're entirely right. Then we go to the second alternate, then we go to the third
exactly.
alternate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just that
That's
that
progression.
process, that
Right.
progression, that's right. So is that clear if we? You think it's clear? Or do we need to?
That would be fine. We can do that. Remove the last sentence, it still encompasses. But we would still have to add the language that each successive alternate would be allowed to be considered by council until all the alternates are exhausted. That's not clear
Right.
in
That's
this,
what I'm-
in
that's what I
this
was saying.
part. It's not clear at all.
Well,
And that's not what you
I think it
want.
is clear.
It is clear.
No. What I'm saying is that what you're proposing, Mr. Burnside, is that what's not in here, the way I read it, is that what you're saying is that each alternate should be considered until they're all exhausted, and then city council would have the opportunity to go outside the alternate. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, but it is
But
clear.
it is
clear on that if the first alternate declines to move up,
To the second. And then
okay,
they show the
then
process.
the chairman will ask the second alternate.
seems clear to me.
Yeah. And the
That's the way-
process plays out.
When I was on the zoning commission, I started as an alternate, and it was shortly after that I became a regular member, and it was the same policy. And I think that's the way it's been with the other people here that have started on the zoning commission.
Well, not exactly, because we were doing
Lack of a
automatic succession up through the next available seat.
Correct.
And come to find out, we was not doing it the correct way.
That's
So that's
And-
why
and
we,
that's why
that's
we
why we're having
changed
this
the language.
conversation right now.
Right.
Right.
They were doing automatic successions, and this language was written specifically to address that, so that the city council, so there's concurrence by the alternate and a vote by the zoning commission, and then it goes to the city council for confirmation.
Okay. Thank you, I appreciate that. Ms. Seeley, did you have anything to add? We're discussing it, so, all right.
So I have a question of Sandra now.
And then we'll hear from
I
Dr.
was
Edwards.
trying to prevent the second. Did it happen or did it not happen?
It did happen.
It did happen.
Okay, so
David's got
then,
to remove the second.
I withdraw.
And I'll withdraw my motion and restate it, that we accept this as presented, except for the last, remove that one sentence that we
Begins with,
stated.
"In considering recommendations for appointment to membership," that sentence?
Yes,
Okay.
we remove that
All
sentence.
right, thank you, I just want to be clear.
Yes.
I just wanted to see if I could ask you one more question. Counselor Martinez, the city attorney just came up with a little word change that might get to where Mr. Burnside is trying to go and make it a little clearer. Do you want
Okay,
to state that?
sure.
Yeah, because looking at it from a legal standpoint, it's got to be more clear than that. I understand that you all are on the same page. We're all on the same page as far as that's concerned, but someone else coming along not understanding wouldn't understand that it's until everything is exhausted. And so what I propose is that should alternate positions be vacant or the alternates do not consent to the consideration of appointment, the City Council may consider other candidates for the member position when all alternates have been exhausted or something to that effect.
Okay.
I could
It's
go
clean.
with
All
Makes it
alternate
clean.
recommendations or all alternate considerations have been exhausted.
I'll
That's
go
what
with-
you want, right?
I'll go with that, because, we need to encourage our commissions, and, we have a chairman, he runs the show, and he should have the power to run it the way he wants, and this gives him the power to move people up and reward them for their hard work, and let them start as alternates and work up to regular members.
Well, I don't view it as a power thing. I believe that there's a logical succession.
Right, there is.
And, we have a first, we have a second, and the third alternate. What's not addressed in here, which we will address in the other, is the succession of alternates. That if the first alternate moves up to a regular member, then the second alternate takes the first place, the third takes the second place, and that leaves a vacancy. We come back to the mayor. She goes out, finds another alternate, and then that goes to the City Council for approval.
Right.
That's clear as a bell to me, so, okay.
Then I'll make my motion to accept that language.
Just mayor and council, we still have it in the code that regardless of that, the mayor still appoints and the council still approves, even though you're going through a succession process.
The mayor always has the power to do that. That's part of her duties, mayoral powers.
Exactly, but we don't want it to get to the point where the mayor is not being notified or has the opportunity to make the appointment and the council vote on it. It shouldn't be an automatic succession.
No,
That's
ma'am.
all I'm trying to get to.
It's not. It's specific in the zoning code that if there's a vacancy as an alternate, it's the chairman's duty to notify the mayor. The mayor then will appoint someone, and then that appointment will go to the City Council for approval.
Correct. Right.
Yeah, I brought that to y'all's attention.
Okay. Very good.
So instead of the table, we're having the movement to approve it with the two, because your original motion was to table it.
Right,
So
I
you-
withdrew that.
All right, so your new motion is,
To approve it with the changes that Denise suggested.
and the removal of the last sentence
Yes.
in B. Okay, I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion by Councilor Martinez and a second by Councilor Alcacer to approve the ordinance revising the Leon Valley Code of Ordinances regarding board appointments and succession, with the exception of removal of the last sentence on page 33 under subsection B, and the second to the last sentence adding when all alternate recommendations have been exhausted. That was the specifics. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion does carry. Well, thank you for bringing
you
this
very
to our
much.
attention. Really appreciate it, Mr. Burnside. Have a good. Okay, moving then to 6.4 under ordinance. Ms. Postlev, if you'll please read it.
An ordinance amending the City of Leon Valley Code of Ordinances, Chapter 4, Business Regulations by adding Article 4.10, Game Room Establishments, and adding Appendix A, Fee Schedule, Article A 17.000, Miscellaneous Fees, Section A 17.005, Permitting Fees, providing for a penalty, providing for repealing, severability, and savings clauses, and providing for an effective date.
Excuse me, Ms. Pestle, it's not on our agenda. This is the one on the poll side, Dr. Milmo's request, the second reading, and he's here this evening. Hi.
I'm sorry, that must have been on my last agenda. Let me go into my little thing here.
6.4.
Yes, my apology.
That's okay.
Had it on my old sheet.
We got a lot of paper. All right, so we'll restate then ordinance number 6.4, please.
Yes, ma'am. An ordinance of the Leon Valley City Council granting a variance to Chapter 3 Building Regulations, Section 3.04.011, on premises signs, freestanding signs for landscaping buffer to allow a pole sign to be installed with a decorative wall instead of the landscaping as required by code, located at 6007 Grissom Road, Leon Valley, Texas, providing for repealer, severability, and savings clause, and providing for an effective date. My apologies.
Thank you. That's fine. And Ms. Novan, good evening and welcome. Is there any update to this particular request?
There are no updates, but we do have Dr. Milmo here available if you had questions.
Yes. All right. Dr. Milmo, good evening. Welcome. Do you want to say anything before the council votes on your variance request? You were not here last time, so we're glad you're here this evening. Yes. It's a beautiful sign. Mm-hmm. Come to the podium, please. We are recording our meeting. And this is for Valencia Lofts.
Yes, good
right
evening,
next to
Mayor.
Barcelona Lofts.
And
Yes,
good evening,
evening.
Council. Yes, it is
Mhm.
for Valencia Lofts. And we presented this, and there was a miscommunication last time between my staff and myself. So that's why I didn't attend the meeting.
Okay.
And I missed it, but I'm here tonight.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
So I think you had the opportunity to see the sign.
We did.
And basically, we're requesting this variance because we have that drainage structure in the front. So it's impossible, to have that buffer in the front. So I don't know if you have any questions about it.
Okay, thank you. Let me ask the council, do you have any questions for Dr. Milmo this evening? Yes. Councilor Martinez.
Thank you for creating a very welcoming and beautiful looking sign. That's something that I think is going to enhance our city. It's very, very modern, very, gives a little bit of our city a very appealing look, and thank you for that.
Very welcome.
Very good. Thank you. All right.
I make a motion that we accept the variance.
Second. I second.
All right. We have a motion by Dr. Edwards and a second by Councilor Alcacer to approve the variance as approved, as it presented at 6007 Grissom Road. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. When will that be open? I'm just kind of curious. Your timeline.
We're trying to finish by the end of June or middle of July.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're trying to push everything, to accomplish that because, we're on a very tight timeline. And
well, congratulations.
as long as weather permits.
Yes, I know.
This rain
yes.
affects,
Yes.
Yes.
I know these have been your plans for at least 10 years, so
Exactly.
congratulations.
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay, you bet. Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Yes, sir. Good evening, too. Moving then to ordinance number 6.5. Ms. Pasolay, if you'll please read that.
An ordinance, I'm sorry, yes. An ordinance granting a variance to Chapter 3, Building Regulations, Section 3.05.015, signs exempt from permit requirements. 2, construction signs, to allow a temporary construction sign to remain in place for 3 months at a property located at 7228 Bandera Road, Leon Valley, Texas, providing for repealer, severability, and savings clause, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Novan, welcome back. Is there any updates on this particular ordinance?
No, there are no updates.
Okay.
Here, I have
Yes.
a couple of questions.
Yes, ma'am. Please begin, Councilor Alcacer.
The permit, how far along is it?
It's still under review. Right now, it's the city engineer still reviewing it.
Okay, so does it seem like it'll be?
I hate to say that,
Okay.
but it's moving through the review process.
Okay, well, on the, I have a problem, and it was discussed last time, and it's the way the ordinance itself is reading. It's for a temporary construction sign, and last time we were told that the temporary construction sign remains during the entire time it's being built or
Yes,
developed.
right. That is correct.
He was requesting it 90 days in advance.
That's correct.
Okay, so if you look at section,
Which one?
the section 1 allows a temporary construction sign to remain in place for 3 months instead of the required 5 days is hereby granted. So if we grant that, then it remains in effect for 90 days. And in effect, he said it would probably be 6-7 months after the permit, but the way this reads, it would have to come down.
Correct. I'm sorry if that's badly worded.
I'm sorry, Mayor and Council. The section it refers to is 3.04.015, which specifically states about how long a sign is supposed to be there prior to construction. This section doesn't talk about any time post or upon construction. It just talks about pre-construction signs.
Right, I understood that, but they also said that it still stays there. So it doesn't make sense to me that we write something.
But there's another section that talks about how long it stays. Am I correct,
Correct.
Felicia?
So the
only thing we're varying.
The variance is actually for the period before construction. Right now, the code only allows a construction sign to be up 5 days prior to construction, and then it stays up throughout construction. And he would like a variance extending that pre-construction time to 3 months. Now, unfortunately, I'm sorry, Mr. Obasi is not here, but there was a discussion last time about it doesn't necessarily have to be 3 months, but he wants it from the time he gets his permit, his building permit, to when he starts construction, which he said could be less than 3 months.
Mayor and Council, I think Ms. Alcazar, the reason why it's worded that way is because we're only talking about pre-construction.
Correct.
Well, maybe
Is that clear to you in the way this is done?
Yes, because I wrote it.
Well, it just seems to me that if somebody were reading this and they, if we did it from the time of permit and then we got the 90 days and said, whoops, it has to go. And we wouldn't want Captain Morgan to come in and take it down because that's what it said.
So that's why I referenced the section 3.04.015, because it only talks, that section in particular only talks about pre-construction.
So does he have to come in and pay for another? Does he have to come in and pay for another permit to have it go on?
No.
Councilor Alcacer, what if we change the second whereas to say pre-construction?
Yeah, I was going to say just add pre-construction. Yeah, that's my
It's not about, it's
my way of thinking.
Right, and then we get pre-construction throughout.
Yeah.
Okay, then I move that with that correction that we do it from the time the permit is granted.
I wouldn't recommend to put pre-construction signs because it doesn't really, that would seem like we're only talking about pre-construction signs, not the sign that's going to be up there the whole time. There's going to be a construction sign up there the whole time,
You
but
said it
prior
was
to,
you said it was going to be the same sign.
Same sign, but if we write in here pre-construction sign, that's a whole other, that may be a whole other definition of what that is. I don't know what is there a pre-construction sign?
No, there's not. We don't have anything called pre-construction sign in the code.
So what about doing it where we allow the temporary construction sign to remain in place from the time the permit is granted until the project is completed.
Yes.
I so move.
Second.
Okay, I'm writing that down. Okay. Yes, is there further discussion? We have a motion by Councilor Alcacer, and we have a second by Councilor Edwards, and is there any further discussion? There we go.
Yes. When he was the owner of the property was here, he wanted to get the sign up immediately. So if we were to approve this tonight, he wants to put the sign up tomorrow. Not when the permit is issued, because it could be another 30 days before the permit is issued. He wants the sign up tomorrow.
He said several times over that he did not mind if it started at the time the permit happened. And I'm going by his own words.
That is my understanding, yes.
Yeah, I understood that too.
Yeah.
And doesn't he have to have the permit in order to put the sign up? I mean, you know, so.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, Councilor Jordan, I'm sorry.
I think my recollection was he stated once the permit was issued, it would take him about 30 days before they started construction on that site. So a 30-day pre-construction sign to me would be sufficient along the way, since it's going to be that entire time they're doing construction. But my understanding was once the permit was issued, we place it then. He says it's going to take about 30 days for construction to start. So
At least, he said.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion by Councilor Alcacer and a second by Councilor Edwards to grant this variance with the addition in Section 1 on page 44 for the temporary construction sign to remain in place from the time the permit is issued to the time till the end of construction. I have until the construction is completed is what I had. Okay. Any further discussion or any addition or corrections to that? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. All right. Thank Mr. Obasi for us, please.
I will.
Thank you.
I will.
All righty. All right. So then moving to the regular agenda, number 7.1. And this is our first reading. And Ms. Postle, if you'll please read this first reading of the ordinance. Oh.
An ordinance of authorizing an amendment to the City of Leon Valley's Code of Ordinances, Chapter 5, Fire Prevention and Protection, Article 5.04, creating Section 5.04.006, Adopted International Wildland Urban Interface Code, and Section 5.04.007, amendments by adding the International Wildland Urban Interface Code 2018 edition with amendments providing for repealer, severability, and savings clause, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, thank you. Welcome,
Welcome.
Fire Marshal Burnside.
Yes,
Good
thank
evening.
you so much.
Thank
I'm Eric
you.
Burnside. I'm the Deputy Fire Marshal with the City of Leon Valley. And what I'd like to discuss first and foremost is the need for this code. The Wildland Urban Interface Code, the 2018 edition, is applied in the management of vegetation currently through reference in the International Fire Code. However, a formal adoption by ordinance of the Urban Interface Code, which is also called WUI. So if you hear Chief Valdez talk about WUI, he's talking about the International Wildland Urban Interface Code.
Okay.
It's recommended, and it's for several reasons why it's recommended. The City of Leon Valley is designated a fire-wise community by the National Fire Protection Association, which is a very esteemed award to get. The formal adoption of the code would have little impact on development and would benefit the community's insurance service rating, ISO, and work to meet best practices by the Texas Fire Chiefs Association, which is another huge achievement we're trying to go towards. The update to this code is necessary to ensure that most current construction and hazardous operation safety standards are maintained in the City of Leon Valley. Some of the objectives of this code are going to be to protect lives and property, meet best practices like discussed earlier, also improve the ISO rating, which in turn helps with insurance for all residents within the community, and create consistency with the International Fire Code. So on this map, you're going to notice that there's about 250 acres of wildland within the city of Leon Valley. And you'll notice, excuse me, parts behind the Hobby Lobby Strip Center. That's a good amount of acreage there. In the natural area, there's also another large amount of acreage there. And then also in the creeks, there's quite a bit of acreage that's unprotected at this point.
And can I just ask you, entry point, would you explain that to
So
me?
the
Because
entry point
I
for
didn't
us,
get
we
that.
actually use this map.
Okay.
So if we have an incident there, if we
Okay.
get called out to a wildland fire, these are our entrance points to go
Okay.
into that piece
With
of property.
your equipment, so that's why you need it large enough to get in and get out.
Correct,
and know.
exactly.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
So some of the amendments to this code are going to be the general amendments that we have with most of our codes. And as you can first tell on section 101.1 for the title, these regulations shall be known as the Wildland Urban Interface Code of the City of Leon Valley, hereinafter referred as to this code. So the same thing with the rest of these codes. It was a fill in the blank. We had to fill in our jurisdiction. That's how the code is set up. And actually shows you that on page 3. And just so you guys have somewhat of an idea, when Chief Valdez was presenting the fire code, you noticed how big that book was. It was almost 600 pages. This book is literally a 50-page document. So it's very intensive in its readings, but it also, it gives you the pertinent stuff that the fire code doesn't when it comes to wildland urban interface. Other amendments are going to be failure to comply. We actually put the dollar amounts in these. These are with our standard ordinances. They just have to be applied in this code when we amend it. Same thing with creation of the enforcement agency, which is also in our ordinance currently. It's another thing we have to add to this code. And dimensions is something we changed up a little bit so we wouldn't impact the wildland urban interface as much as the code was saying. We restricted it back a little bit to 12 feet and not less than 14 feet shall be required and maintained at all times. The C statement is social equity, adopting the most current and highest standards. Fire code ensures safety for all citizens and visitors to Leon Valley. Economic development, maintaining high standards in fire codes and safety measures, resiliency of the business community. Environmental stewardship, adoption of the new Wildland Urban Interface Code works to prevent fires, thereby reducing pollutants to the environment and protects trees. The strategic goals, the resolution supports strategic goal number 2 to improve the safety and security of the City of Leon Valley through adoption and implementation of the most current available fire code. And the fire department recommends approval on amending the City of Leon Valley Code of Ordinances, adopting the 2018 International Wildland Urban Interface Code with amendments as presented.
Okay, very good. Chief, I was reading the packet, and I was wanting to ask you, could you give an example of a violation where we would have to fine somebody?
So on this
$50 to $2,000. So I'd like to know that.
Well, finding somebody $2,000, that's usually left up to the judge.
Yeah, certainly,
We don't
but your
write out the
range.
citation
Yeah, but
and say yes.
what would they be doing?
On something like that, it would most likely be an egregious act to where they've received a citation and they've paid the fine. They received it again. They've paid the fine again. It's something that happens over multitudes of warnings, enforcements, and it's just a failure to comply. To my knowledge, I don't know if that's ever happened to where it's been exceeded to that point. The good thing about the Wildland Urban Interface Code is a lot of the areas, let's say if they end up getting developed with, of course, the natural area is never going to be developed, but some of the other acreages, once they become developed, they get taken out of this category.
Okay.
So now they just become urban versus wildland urban interface.
Wildland, yeah. Okay.
And keep in mind, one of the biggest reasons why we're doing this is, like Chief Valdez says, is housekeeping. ISO requires us for points, because ISO is a point-rated system. It requires us to have this just to gain the few extra points to try to get to a higher ISO level. And the same thing with best practices. They specifically name the International Wildland Urban Interface as a code that we should adopt because it is a best practice and it's keeping the community safer.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Any other questions for Fire Marshal Burnside? Yes,
You
Councilor.
clarified it when saying that the undeveloped areas that get developed will be taken out of it. But in the meanwhile, there are areas that don't fit what you're talking about where I can't see they're not 14, 26, like part of it said it had to be 26 feet wide, 20 feet wide. There's areas, there's no area that where you enter the creek that fits that, for example. So are we going to have to be making things now?
No,
or
we won't
doing
have to
things?
make things. Now, in this code, it does deem the fire chief as the code official for this actual code. So as he interprets this code, and he's going to deem, is that a wildland urban interface or is it not? So keep in mind, just because it looks like a natural area, it may not actually be a wildland urban interface. He's looking at the bigger acreages. So if an event does happen in there, there is access to it. If it's a small tract of land, 9 times out of 10, he's not going to consider that a wildland urban interface and have a lot of the restrictions that go along with it apply to that. It's only if there's a threat to the community.
Okay, so how large a piece would it have to be?
To be honest, I asked him that myself, and I haven't got an answer, so I don't know.
Okay, so he'll be updating us or
He'll
giving
be
us?
updating you on the next one, and there's actually there's a study, a test study in here that comes with the code. It does not allow you to adopt it with the code, and you follow those steps to go through of what is designated as a wildland urban interface. And everything that he listed out on the map meets all that criteria.
Okay, just, to me, the map wasn't very clear, but maybe it
Well,
was.
because it showed the whole city. It would have to be blown up so much more for you to see detail and see what exactly it is. That was just more for a generalized view, so you guys knew how much wildland you actually had in Leon Valley, which is quite a bit, surprisingly enough.
Right. Okay, so as it keeps us updated,
Okay.
I'm good.
Yes, Councilor Ely.
I did have a question. With regards to your entry points, you've already set out what your distance markers are for your hose, if you should have to get a call to those areas?
Correct. So keep in mind, we do have the brush truck. It's not the huge aerial apparatuses that you guys are accustomed to seeing. It's a smaller Chevy pickup that allows us to get into a lot of places that those other vehicles are not allowed to get into, and it gives us great access.
Okay. And then they would just reload with more water, go back in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Councilor Jordan.
Yes, I understand if there's an emergency, y'all have access to personal and private property. But was there any coordination with the property owners and any input on, preparation, what you might be doing in preparation for those type of areas?
And there has been, because I know most of the properties are open. There's no fencing gating to them. I think there are 2 that would require us to either cut a lock or go through a gate to get to them. And I'm almost positive, I don't want to speak for Chief Valdez, but I'm pretty sure he's already set up agreements with them. So if something did happen on their property or somewhere through their property, that we would have access. But I can't honestly say beyond a shadow of a doubt that has been set up.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Councilor Martinez.
Is there a national code that addresses this instead of an international code? I know a lot of times international codes are kind of overbearing, and a lot of international codes, they try to do things to harm our country. So is there a national code that can be referenced instead of this international code?
So there are 2 national codes. One is through NFPA, one is through the National Wildlife Coordinating Group. Those 2 are actually a lot more restrictive than this one. So I think that's why Chief really wanted to go with this code, because we already use International Fire Code through the ICC, which is the International Code Council. A lot of our building code comes through International Code Council, so he's just trying to keep it consistent because a lot of the language is the same. So we don't have to read through this code. What do we have to amend so we can get with NFPA to kind of get them to mesh? It ends up creating a lot more confusion, a lot more double talk. And then one resident will say, well, hey, in here it says this. Well, in here it says the complete opposite when you use two different set sources for a code.
Okay, is there going to be any impact on either residential or businesses if we adopt this?
Like I said, with businesses, the only impact is if they don't develop that land fully. But with the tracts that we have, we can't foresee that it's going to have any impact on them at all. The only small minor impact that may happen is if they did outdoor burning and they were within that 30 feet of that wildland area, then it's not, hey, stop burning, hey, here's your citation, because you're going to end up catching that whole wildland area and catching these other houses on fire. So that's where it becomes just a little bit more restrictive because of that huge present danger.
Okay. And before the next council, can we get the better map?
Yes, of course.
Even if it has to be broken down into 3 or 4 or 5 sections?
Yeah, we can make it into 3 or 4 different quadrants of the city to show you guys a little bit better, of course.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. I was just thinking, whose responsibility is it, the business and the residents, or the residents for that fire break that they have to have?
So at this point, it's going to be whoever owns the actual wildland property.
Okay.
So natural area, it's going to be the city. Whoever owns the private property, that's 30, 40, how many ever acres, it is going to be the responsibility. Also, keep in mind, this does also cover utility easements with CPS. So CPS, we're going to be able to hold them more responsible now to maintain their easements.
Right, because that contributes to a wildfire for sure. Yes. Anyone else?
I'll make a motion.
Yes.
I'd like to make
Oh, we don't have a, this is our first reading. Yeah, I know, we're so used to doing presentation and then wanting to vote. But next time, thank you.
You're welcome.
Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Yes, oh, we do have a question from our, thank you so much. You have to raise your hand. And Ms. Joseph, good evening and welcome. No, we want to hear from you. Thank you. That's part of our process.
City Council Mayor. Lynn Joseph, 6423 Trotter. Can you bring up the map again? I know it's not very accurate, but I live on the creek, and I noticed that you have where Stirrup Lane is. That comes down off the creek, and I know there's one access point there, and then the Public Service has developed another one that they've been using that's just kind of rough dirt. Are there going to be 2 access points, or if that's a pre-existing one, is that one that will stay pre-existing?
Yes, if it's pre-existing, it's going to stay pre-existing. We're not planning on creating any new entrance points. Worst case scenario, we may end up maintaining them. If the fire department needs to just get our access and it's county property or city property, that's something we'll end up taking care of, just to make sure our truck has access to them. There's not small brush growing up to damage any of the vehicles.
And then the creek is really the Bexar County's or property or city of San Antonio?
I thought it was San Antonio River Authority, right? Don't they have all the creeks? That's what I thought.
San Antonio River, no, actually, the point where they're doing the LC-17 project is right now under Bexar County.
Right.
Once they finish the project and maintained it for a year, and we're going to require that they have their FEMA certifications done, then that property would be the city of Leon Valley's.
Okay, what about above that? Because I'm on the east side of Evers.
Can you?
Public Works area.
Yeah, Public Works area.
Okay, and what is your question about the Public Works area?
I'm on that area.
Right, but what is your question?
I want to know, is the creek at this time, I know Leon Valley's maintaining it, but who owns the property? Is that city,
creeks
state,
with San Antonio River Authority.
Bexar County?
I don't know the answer to that.
I thought it was
We
Bexar
can,
County one time.
yeah, we can
I can
look
get you
into
that
it,
answer,
yeah.
Ms. Joseph.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
It is
I'm curious
that,
now. So I
you
always
were
thought.
talking about maintenance of the utility easement, and that Now, who would be responsible for it in that case?
CPS.
CPS.
Yes. Whoever provides that utility service is responsible for that easement. And the good thing is that's what this code specifically explains out. Now, it's just us having that relationship with the utility provider, whether it's Great Forest Utilities, City Public Services. Keep in mind, this is just the beginning stage of a hopefully short process, but it's going to be thorough and it's going to make our community a lot better.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it is. I just was curious because I'm kind of out here on left field now.
We're here to give you whatever information you need to make you a little bit more comfortable, okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
You're
Great,
welcome.
thank you.
I'll email you, Ms. Joseph.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Fire Marshal Burnside. Do appreciate your presentation this evening. All right, moving then to our next regular agenda item for the first read, 7.2. Ms. Postley, if you'll please read the ordinance. Oh, this is not a first read. Okay, see, I think everything has to have two reads. Okay, so this is the first read. Yay, okay. Discuss and consider possible action on an in-kind grant by Northside Education Foundation for a request to waive fees for the use of the conference center at 6421 Evers Road for a Board of Directors leadership retreat. And we have Maribel Mendoza
Good
here
evening,
this
Mayor
evening
and
to
Council.
present. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you.
Yes.
So we had an in-kind grant request from our, give me one second. From a Northside Education Foundation. They're requesting to use the conference center 3 days, Tuesday, January 19th from 1 to 5 for setup, Wednesday, June 20th from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. for their annual board meeting, and Thursday, June 21st from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. to pick up their equipment. They'll be utilizing their own tables, but using our chairs. They've had their conference there, their board meeting there since 2014, and would like to continue using the conference center for it. NISD superintendents, senior leadership, community and business leaders will also be attending the board of directors meeting. Yep. So the request includes waiver of the amenities, cleaning fees, deposit, and rental. The event will give the conference center exposure to prominent NISD community and business leaders potentially interested in having activities in Leon Valley, whether it's our community center or our conference center. The in-kind grant committee reviewed the request and is forwarding it to you as an affirmative recommendation. So the required points are 20 out of 30, and this is what the board requested 20, and this request scored the 20 out of 30. So the physical impact, if approved, the grant would waive a total fees of $1,735, amenities 30, cleaning fees 145, the deposit of 400, and then the rental fees. So the 1,160 is 3 days total. And it does follow our C statement. The request supports our strategic goal 1, economic development, which encourages promoting the city and creates positive branding for the city as well. So again, the committee forwards a recommendation 20 out of 30. And City Council's discretion to waive the deposit, rental fees, amenities, and cleanup. We also have here Cassandra Miranda, who's a representative from the Northside Education Foundation, here if you would like to speak with her.
Oh, sure. Oh, there she is. Hi. Good evening and welcome. We're so glad you're here. Did you have anything else that you'd like to add to the presentation?
Hello, Mayor Riley and
Yes.
council members. Just that we really enjoy using the facility. This would be the 4th year if we're able to do that. The district, as well as the Education Foundation, has an over 20-year relationship with the City of Leon Valley. Many of you may be familiar with the Los Leones Arts Festival that used to be at the Conference and Community Center that grew so big that we had to move it to Marshall High School. So this Board of Directors meeting is actually a leadership strategic planning meeting that was a spin-off from that. And so several of those board members were actually involved with the Los Leones events and continue to be. Jefferson Bank is actually the title sponsor of Los Leones and is also a board member. And so there's a lot of crossover in that regard. And so those relationships, they want to continue coming back to Leon Valley. In addition, we always have the food catered by a Leon Valley restaurant. So we have the Leon Valley Cafe catering, and we hope to invite them back this year once we have approval tonight.
Okay.
So thank you
Very
for your
good.
consideration.
Yes, Councilor Alcacer.
What kind of budget does the foundation have?
That's one of my questions.
It depends on which, asking about operating budget or our
The
total-
funds that would handle things like this?
So this would be considered a business expense. So the operating budget is about maybe $400,000.
Okay. And did you do the application itself?
Yes.
There were a lot of cross-outs, like things, this was crossed out, said waived. I didn't know. Did you do that, or did somebody else do that?
No, Council, I took care of that. It was security fees. Since staff is available on site, I'll be able to open up the facility and close the facility. So that was an adjustment that I made.
So you automatically waived that fee?
Correct. If staff is, because the timeline or their hours presented during the day, since staff is available, I'm able to open up the facility instead of using security for that. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because I hadn't seen anything like that on one of these before. And this is an aside for you. It seemed like there was such a wide discrepancy on the those who valued it that we really need to do something again on getting this taken care of.
Yes, ma'am. I'll take care of it.
So the cleanup fee, why is that requested to be waived?
Well, we actually don't have a lot of a mess. It's about 40 or 50 adults. Northside will bring in its own projection screen. We'll bring in our own projector. We'll bring in our own laptop. We'll bring in our own media specialist to actually set all that up. We bring in our own tables. We bring in our own linens. The restaurant will come in and set up the breakfast and the snacks and the lunch and clean up their own mess. Me and my staff will get the linens and we take them to the dry cleaner. Then the warehouse team that brings in the tables will take the tables away. And then the public works team, I guess, would clean the floor like they normally would for any event that would be there, and that would be it. So it's very minimal. We take care of it pretty much, other than in the bathrooms.
Okay, so you don't mind paying the $145 cleaning fees that the city would do because you were there? Because they don't clean it if people aren't using it.
Well, we haven't had to pay it, and we would prefer to not pay it because we haven't. And the foundation raises money to award grants to teachers and staff, so we'd rather use the $145 to be able to award a grant to teachers so they can use that in the classrooms to support the students.
So of the $400,000 that you have as an operating budget, how much of that goes to the teachers?
So about, it depends on if you're asking about this current year or last year.
But either one, both, whichever you have the figures
So
for.
this current year, about $330,000.
Goes directly to the teachers?
Yes.
So,
any employee can apply for a grant.
Right.
okay, so where do those funds come from?
We have
Your gala.
fundraisers. We have a 5K actually this Saturday. We have a gala. We have a golf tournament. We have a clay shooting tournament. We do an employee pledge drive. There's a United Way campaign.
So your budget comes from all these fundraisers?
Yes.
Okay.
But the fundraisers also have expenses, so there's operating expenses.
Okay, that's what I appreciate
So every
your clarification.
penny counts,
Yeah,
even
I see that.
$145.
I see that. Thank you.
Ms. Mendota, the history, 14, 15, 16, 17, did the councils waive all fees for every year?
Yes,
I just wanted to get the history there. Okay, thank you. Anything else? Councilor Martinez.
One thing that I think that my first inclination was on the security personnel staff waiving that fee. That should be a council or policy decision, not a staff decision. It should have been presented without that.
It's very, very typical when we have had in-kind grants in the past, if they're held during operating hours, because there's no security needed to go open and close. When you need security is to be able to open and close the facility, and that's done either before or after hours. So if they were requesting times that staff was not available, then the security would have come to you. Now, if it was like a party or alcohol was being served, then staff would have recommended, of course, that security be there. But for this type of event to happen during working hours, we typically would, we have staff available to do that.
Okay, but still, staff has to be pulled away from their typical job to drive across the city, even though it's a short city, but they still have to go over there, unlock the facility and do some stuff and then come back. So they're still disrupted from their regular work.
Mayor, Councilor Martinez, that's not part of security. The security fees are for that, for us to hire out the security guards.
But if staff is doing their function for them and opening the doors and stuff, they are taking on that. I think that should be a.
They're not taking on the job of security. By security, we hire that out.
Right, I know, but they are spending their time, instead of giving the key to the security guard and let them opening and closing it, staff has to do that.
So Mary Bell's responsibility is
part of
her
her
job.
job. Exactly.
And she does go over there daily to open and close the facilities for showings, for different things. She goes over there all the time throughout. That's her job, is to go and show those facilities, open and close them. She visits the seniors very regularly to go over there. So it's not typical.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Anyone else have a comment on this? All right. Okay. So
I
what's the
move that
pleasure
we
of the-
approve the request made.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I was waiting for you to ask the citizens to come up, but you do have a letter to be read?
I do. Thank you. Let me read this letter. Thank you for that.
Sorry, Ms.
This was sent from Kathy Hill, 6328 Mary Jameson. I believe she's on the NEF board. Is that correct? And she said, unfortunately, I can't be at the meeting tonight to share my support of this agenda item. The Northside Education Foundation, nearly 25 years old, is a 501c3 nonprofit corporation which raises funds to support competitive, innovative teacher grants within the Northside District. Leon Valley teachers and students have benefited from these grants. I encourage you to please support this request and waive the fees for the NEF Board of Directors Learn Leadership Retreat. It's a good way to continue to partner with Northside and show off our rental facilities. Thank you for your consideration. What I like that you said, Cassandra, is that it goes back to the teachers, and that's what is important, I think, for me, because I know they benefit greatly. I've been to several of your galas, and it's an amazing organization, so keep up the good work. Okay, so this is from Kathy Hill. Anybody else in our chambers that would like to weigh in on this as well? Yes, Ms. Sanchez. Good evening and welcome.
Hello, I'm Carmen Sanchez, 6731 Blacksmith Lane. And just an observation. This is a very good thing to have a good relationship with Northside. And so as I'm sitting here, I'm just listening to the questioning. And, some of the questions I consider were out of line. And so even though it was approved, if I was standing here asking for the approval, it was if you go back and review the tape or the recording, it's some of the questioning is a little bit more abrupt and aggressive. And again, it's just an observation.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
appreciate that. Cassandra, I was just going to ask you one thing, because I know you said Los Leones. This year, and I'll just talk to you after that, because it's not part of this agenda item, about Earthwise and Los Leones conflicted this year, so we want to make sure that is clarified next year. So anyone else have a question? We do have a motion to approve. Did I have a second?
Second.
We have a second by, I had 2 seconds, but second by Mr. Jordan. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Thank you very much. Do appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Where are we now? We will then move to discuss the first reading of Ordinance 6.1. Ms. Postley, if you'll please read that ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley City Council authorizing the acceptance of the Southwest Texas Regional Advisory Council STRAC grant award in the amount of $3,760 to purchase emergency medical supplies for the Leon Valley Fire Department Emergency Medical Service, authorizing a general fund budget adjustment in the amount of $3,760.00, providing for repealer, severability, and savings clause, and providing for an effective date.
Okay. Thank you very much. We have Blake Wade, our Leon Valley Fire Department Assistant Chief, here to present this evening. Welcome.
Good evening,
Glad
Council,
you're here.
Mayor.
Yes.
So, as you may recall, in the recent past, thank you. Okay, thank you. My vertically challenged friends prior to me. Sorry. As you may recall, in the recent past, Chief Valdez came to you with a budget adjustment on some grant funds we received also from STRAC.
Right.
The fire department is constantly seeking grants and funds to assist the city and the taxpayers in easing the burden of the rising costs of medical operations of emergency services. The budget adjustment grants funds we received from STRAC in the amount of $3,760. The Southwest Regional Advisory Council Trauma Grant Award is the purpose of this presentation, and adjusting and increasing in the amount of $3,760 the Leon Valley Fire Department Emergency Medical Services. The fire department received this $3,760 from STRAC for purchasing, to be used for the purchase of supplies, medications, bandages, oxygen therapy, anything to do with EMS, providing emergency medical services, including training. We all have been, it's been brought to our attention the rising cost of providing medical services due to the rising cost of medications and drugs. What our recommendation is to approve an ordinance accepting the trauma grant and increasing in the amount of $3,760 the Leon Valley Fire Department Emergency Medical Service supplies. The strategic goals resolution supports the strategic goal number 2, which is to improve the safety and security of the city of Leon Valley through reimbursement and support the cost associated with providing emergency services.
Okay, very good.
I stand for questions.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I just was wondering, how large is that region? I mean, how many fire departments are you competing with for this grant?
23 counties.
23 counties.
Yep.
Wow, that's big.
Yes.
Okay.
And we participate in the advisory council, all the way from our medical director, Dr. Manifold, all the way down to our medics in the field that are collecting data, not HIPAA sensitive data, not personal data of our patients, but the quantity of falls we make or motor vehicle collisions, the time that calls come in. And by sharing this information with that council, we're able to provide more information on safety of our citizens.
Okay.
And by participating, we're allowed, the more participation we have, the more grants that are awarded to us. That's why I'm here today again. Within the last 3 months, we've gotten 2 of these grants.
Well, very good. Excellent work, because that saves our taxpayer dollars.
Absolutely.
Yes, you bet. Okay. Anything else? This is a first read, so any other questions from our council or from our citizens this evening? Okay. And who is responsible for writing these grants? Is it shared among the fire department?
It's shared among a lot, even though our firefighters don't know it, as they collect the data.
Okay, then
And
that's
between
put in the
myself and
grant.
Lisa Martin, every morning, part of our assignments are to ensure that the documentation is correct and meets the expectations of the council.
Wow.
The Southwest Texas Regional Council.
Okay.
So.
Well, very good. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Excellent. All right. Thank you. Do appreciate it. All right. So agenda item 7.3, the City Council will meet in executive session to discuss the following section 551.071, consultation with attorney regarding the public purpose doctrine, in which the duty of the attorney of the governmental body under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with Chapter 551 of the Texas Local Government Code. So at approximately 7:47, we will move to executive session, and then we will reconvene as soon as we're finished. Thank you all very much, and so yes. I know. I will, because I want to be sure that we don't have that conflict with Leslie Ellison and
Right, no, it's perfect, but once you clarify, the problem is that we're not finding out enough of this information by the people.
Well, like I'd like to have the history.
Right.
I didn't know who to look for. I can't remember. But
Right, well, they did mention the history, but it doesn't, they apparently don't get any, because one of them graded at 15 and one graded at 25.
I know.
I said, there's something wrong here.
Inter-rater reliability issue.
I will definitely ask her that. I'll get the phone number from Maribel.
I thought she handled it beautifully, and you know, you have to find out information. And you saw the thing all scribbled up. I said, what on earth?
I know. So,
Applicant do that? That was Maribel, probably her mistake, but.
Yeah. Okay, so here's my memorandum. Here we go.
Geez. I can't ask questions.
You're welcome. And I'll get with you on that piece of land. Okay, thank you. You're welcome. Oh, no, let me go get it. Oh, the mayor does.
Hey.
So we are reconvening into regular session, and there is no action at approximately 8:50 on May the 1st. And I don't have to adjourn. It doesn't say adjourn from the. I usually have an adjournment from a executive session. Do I need to do that? Just the 8:50? Right, I understand that. But we have, okay, I just want to be sure. Citizens to be heard? We have one citizen here that wants to say something. Cassie, good evening.
Just kidding.
No,
I'm Cassie Ross. I live in Leon Valley. I just want to say I like you guys, and you say good things most of the time, and I like it when you smile.
Okay, good. Thank you. That's ending on a positive note. Okay. All right. So if there's no objection, then we move to adjourn at 8:51 on May the 1st. Have a good evening. We'll see you May 15th. All righty. Good evening. Would you give back?